Everyone remembers Volkswagen for their turbocharged 4s or the legendary VR6, but between 2005 and 2014, Volkswagen quietly gave their most boring cars a 5-cylinder engine built tougher than anyone realized, packing a cast iron block, a 20-valve head linked by engineering philosophy to a Lamborghini V10, and undersquare geometry for serious durability. The official story calls it an economy motor, but the data and its overlooked construction tell a different story. What was this humble base engine really hiding, and why does its DNA echo supercars? Between 2005 and 2014, Volkswagen's North American lineup quietly relied on a single workhorse, the 2.5-liter inline-5 known internally as 07K. This engine became the default choice in the Jetta, Rabbit, New Beetle, and Passat, appearing in nearly every base model that rolled out of Volkswagen showrooms during that decade. Early versions, coded BGP and BGQ, produced 150 horsepower at 5,000 revolutions per minute and 170 pound-feet of torque at 3,750 revolutions per minute. By 2008, updated CBTA and CBUA codes brought modest gains, reaching 170 horsepower at 5,700 revolutions per minute and 177 pound-feet at 4,250 revolutions per minute. Thanks to revised intake runners and ECU tuning, factory brochures promised smooth, reliable power for daily driving, but period road tests often described the engine as torquey yet uninspired, with little appetite for high revs. For most buyers, it was simply the engine you got, dependable, unassuming, and built for the long haul. Underneath its plain exterior, the 07K engine hides a foundation built for endurance. Volkswagen chose a cast iron block at a time when most rivals had switched to lighter aluminum. The block's thick cylinder walls and heavy main bearing supports were designed for decades of daily use, not high performance. Its internal dimensions, 82.5mm bore and 92.8mm stroke, give it a long-stroke undersquare layout, favoring torque and low-end strength over high-revving horsepower. This old-school approach made the bottom end far stronger than any commuter engine needed. Above the block sits a 20-valve, dual-overhead cam head rooted in Volkswagen Group's engineering tradition. While not a direct transplant, its design philosophy traces back to the same thinking that shaped the Lamborghini Gallardo FIV 10, with efficient airflow, bucket tappets, and a high-flow port layout. The result is a cylinder head that can move much more air than the stock setup ever demanded, setting the stage for what tuners would later discover. By the early 2010s, a handful of brave tuners started bolting turbo kits onto Junkyard 07K engines, half expecting the engines to grenade on the first pull. Dyno sheets and forum threads soon told a different story. Stock bottom-end, 2.5-liter engines, with nothing more than careful tuning and upgraded fueling, were putting down 350, 375, even 400 horsepower, and they survived repeated abuse. One shop owner said they had seen 400-plus horsepower on these engines when they were bone stock, and that the block just did not care. Screenshots from VW Vortex and early YouTube clips showed Jettas and Rabbits making power numbers that would embarrass most factory GTI models. The community scrambled to verify results, sharing logs and posting dyno graphs as proof. What began as a risky experiment quickly turned into accepted wisdom. The 07K could handle boost far beyond what anyone expected, and it was not just luck. It was overbuilt from the start. Integrated engineering stepped in as 07K's secret got out, building a path from junkyard curiosity to a 4-digit powerhouse. Their engineers saw the engine's untapped airflow and started with bolt-on intake manifolds and turbo kits designed to match the head's potential. As horsepower goals climbed, fueling upgrades became non-negotiable because stock injectors maxed out fast. Integrated engineering offered staged kits with 550, 750, or 1,000 cubic centimeter injectors to feed the beast. For anyone chasing numbers beyond 400 horsepower, forged pistons and rods moved from luxury to necessity, with drop-in kits covering everything from weekend street cars to full drag builds. Cooling solutions and standalone engine management followed, letting tuners push the envelope while keeping reliability in check. Each stage felt deliberate, engineered for builders who wanted more than just a wild guess, An engineer at Integrated Engineering summed it up. The block's a tank, but the real key is matching the supporting parts to your target. That is how you get 1,000 horsepower from a 5-cylinder that lives. The 07K swap wave hit hard. Suddenly, these engines were showing up in places nobody expected. Mark I Golfs, E30 BMWs, and even Porsche 944s with hand-built adapter plates. Builders loved the iron block's strength, but it was the 5-cylinder warble that sealed the deal. That firing order of 1, 2, 4, 5, 3 gave every project an unmistakable soundtrack, halfway between an old Audi rally monster and something exotic. Prices at salvage yards doubled almost overnight as word spread. One Colorado fabricator joked he could spot a fellow 07K fan by the grin when the engine fired up. No other swap sounded quite like it. Volkswagen retired the 07K in favor of the EA888 Turbo 4, chasing better fuel economy and lower emissions for the next generation of Jetta and Golf. For builders chasing big power, the engine itself is rarely the weak spot. It is the factory clutch and transmission that call it quits first, especially above 350 horsepower. Anyone planning a serious build needs to budget for upgraded drivetrain components to keep up with what the iron block can deliver. Today, the 07K sits overlooked in junkyards, still outlasting expectations. As car values soar, its iron block reliability and sleeper potential have never mattered more. Sometimes, legends wait quietly until someone listens. What would you build?